Alright, so, OniMai. Out of all the shows to review from last season, this is what I chose. Yeah! So OniMai is an anime that was produced by Studio Bind, and its director is Shingo Furiji. He doesn't have any weird directorial experience, but the producers for this series are also the ones from Mushoku Tensei. I do think it's pretty funny that Studio Bind went from one of the greatest isekai adaptations to ever exist to this, but in a way it's oddly on brand for them. I say that, but if I'm being honest for a second here, it's one of my favorite shows from last season, and it's pretty underrated in my opinion. I feel a lot of people got turned off early in its run due to the story, but if you take it as just a wholesome slice of life, it's actually pretty good. Not anything particularly special, but the characters are really solid, their interactions are cute, and the animation and art just enhance the wholesomeness. Basically, what you want from a show like this. I noticed as I was looking at pictures for this show, a lot of people that review this series have to do what seems like some kind of morality check to make sure the point comes across that they don't support this show and its sexual messages. Like they have to beat it into us that the fan service is a bad thing. OniMai is fucking disgusting. If I didn't do this for We Do of Hilo, I ain't doing it for OniMai. Here on the Kikaya channel, we bathe in the degeneracy. You were merely adopted by the degeneracy. I was born in it. It's just weird to me because the story doesn't have that much fan service to warrant that kind of reputation. Whew, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let the transition card play at least. Mahiro is your typical shut-in loser whose life seems to be stuck in a rut. In comparison to his genius, athletic, all-around perfect little sister, he isn't even close to her level. This is until his little sister spikes his drink with a super-duper turn-your-neat older brother into a kawaii-as-fuck little sister drug and turns him into a girl. The rest of the series can be explained as Mahiro just being a girl. He says he wants to go back to being a boy, but it also seems like he enjoys being a girl as the episodes progress. Now, you might hear this premise and think to yourself, what kind of trashy, ecchi, borderline offensive shit is he going to make a positive review on this time? But to be completely honest with you guys, this show is just really cute. There is an uncensored version, but that's not even that lewd. The only major difference between the two is some of the translations, they censor already censored scenes, and there are some scenes that are deleted in the censored version. There's not even any titties, man! To really prove this point that the censored version is stupid and pointless, every clip in this video is from the uncensored version. Let me know if this is too risque for y'all. Now, back to the story. I noticed a notable similarity between this and the other Bind show, Mushoku Tensei. Both are about a loser degenerate getting a second chance at life. In this case, Mahiro is getting to live a life of a regular middle school girl. He can finally get friends, he can experience an actual life instead of being a shut-in, something that for one reason or another he wasn't able to do before. This is just a cute slice of life instead of a fantasy. In a way, it just adds to the sweetness of this whole thing, knowing that this is his second chance. Since this is a comedy, I found it pretty funny. There are a couple of times this show really got me. I don't know if the internet is just ruining me slowly, but a jump cut right after someone screams has become the funniest thing in the world to me now. There's also a gag that I vividly remembered where Mihari sneezed in a movie theater because they were talking about her, and then later on in the episode she actually became sick from that sneeze. Just made me laugh cause I honestly have never seen a show do that before. The references to video games were also well implemented, but it's mostly entertaining just to see how it handles these awkward topics when you're around the same age as the protagonist. Again, similar to Mushoku Tensei. I don't mean for all the comparisons to Mushoku Tensei, but it's interesting to me just how similar these two shows are. Speaking of awkward topics, it also explores the differences between a girl and a boy, and the pros and cons of being a girl. Like how they need to focus more on their appearance and what to do during your time of the month, and I think it's fun just to see his reaction to all this, considering a NEET wouldn't really care about all that. There are some pros to being a girl as well. I guess a girl's orgasm is better than ours. That's kind of bullcrap, huh? And they do get all the cute clothes and stuff, but then again, it also shows how some girls just aren't into that kind of thing. So I guess the pros and cons between each gender just depends on preference. There is more about this series, but I'll bring those up in the character section. For now, this this story is really solid. For a genre that doesn't need much of a story, it really fleshes things out, such as the confusion of switching genders and the natural awkwardness that comes with that. And the slice of life moments are augmented when you consider his life before that. It makes it feel special. I think the story is actually really solid in this. Let's start this off with Mahiro. Unlike his sister, he was never really accomplished in high school, and he never really wanted to do anything except play video games. Eroge games to be exact. He's initially against being a girl, but over time he slowly begins to love being in the girl's body. It's really interesting to see him slowly turn into a girl. He begins styling his hair, wearing cuter clothes, his interests change, his mannerisms become more feminine even. This can be explained by him being more comfortable in a woman's body. Which is true for sure, but I think it created an image around this show that I don't think it was meant to have. The show isn't completely fan service trash, but it also isn't the trans white show some may think it is. I think a show like Stars Align handles this topic way better, because that show actually pushed an LGBT message. In this case, while it's present, I don't think it's the main focus. I think it has more to do with him finally experiencing what it's like to have friends and be a normal kid. Not saying he doesn't love being a girl, he obviously does. He got pissed when a teacher told him to take off his makeup, like he's slowly becoming a gyaru. He almost fell for Momiji even when he thought she was a boy. Like, he really loves being a girl. But this show seems to head in another direction, which is him finally having friends and having a reason to go outside and go to school and stuff like that. There are times where he feels lonely because his friends aren't with him. He didn't feel that in the past as a boy. It takes all the way to the end of the show for him to finally acknowledge the fact he likes being a girl when he had the choice to go back to his original gender. And he literally says his reason for being a girl is because of his friends, not because of any real other reason. So that's why I kinda think the way I do here. Obviously it could go either way, we're only in season 1. Besides that, I think he's a sweet character. There's some humor involving him. He is a guy in a woman's body after all. But for a series that had all the reason in the world to go an ecchi route with the whole gender bending thing, they really didn't do that. For a loser character, he's actually not really sexual at all. He's actually pretty respectful about this sort of thing around his friends. And the overall tone of the show is going for a more cute vibe instead of a overall degenerate vibe. I mean, I wouldn't have complained either way because I like that kind of thing, but it shocked me is all. But it's a surprisingly really sweet and charming story of someone finally getting the chance to experience social life. And I think this series pulls it off really well. Mihari is the sister of Mahiro. Despite their differences in grades, athletics, and popularity, Mihari loves Mahiro. Like, she really loves him. Which may surprise some of you considering she forced him to be a girl. It surprised me too. But then I thought about it. That change in gender might have been more necessary than we think. For better or for worse, girls have more responsibility to take care of themselves, which is talked about in the first part of the season. So changing his gender would make it easier for him to actually take care of his hygiene and to focus on his appearance. If he stayed a boy, the risk of him just going back to his old ways is higher because there's nothing to introduce him to. This not only awakened a love he didn't know he had before, but it also made him meet new people and to be social. Plus, it's mentioned that their relationship wasn't as strong as when they were kids. Mihari misses being close to her brother. Seeing him like this probably hurt her a lot. I feel we can all understand that to a degree. Seeing a loved one slowly cut himself off from the world and stay inside all the time? That's why I don't think it's selfish of her to essentially force a change for her brother. If it's to fix their relationship in Mahiro's life, I don't think it really mattered to her. Matter of fact, another reason you could argue as to why Mihari went through this whole process in the first place is because Mahiro was starting to feel self-conscious about how great she is compared to him, making Mahiro's life even worse just by comparison to how great her sister is. There's no way Mihari wasn't aware that he was feeling that way. At first I thought this would be like a prank for comedy purposes, but it's actually something she did out of love for her brother. She made a whole drug to change his gender just to try and make him happy and healthy. That's one example of just how surprisingly wholesome this show can be at times. But it also still keeps the comedy with a goofy idea like a gender-bending drug. This experiment allowed them to actually do stuff together again, which they haven't done in ages, they said. Besides that, I like her character all around. She can be a little innocent at times, which is a sweet contrast from her normal professional self, particularly around Kaide. I think she's a fine character. Momiji is Mahiro's best friend and little sister of Kaide, who often gets mistaken for a boy due to his attire. I mean, I knew she was a girl instantly. Look at her. But she is a major highlight of the series for a few reasons. The main reason being she's a way better example of being confused over your sexual identity than Mahiro is. Momiji feels uncomfortable in frilly girly attire and mostly wears clothes that are meant for a boy. That mixed in with the fact she seems to be developing slowly, and it seems she has a crush on Mahiro. I don't know, it seems like she wants to be more of a boy to me. I could be wrong though. I'd be down for some Yuri. Since girl Mahiro contrasts so much with Momiji, it's inherently funny to see them interact. But this is even funnier when you consider Mahiro used to be a boy, so him being the more girly one here in this little relationship is fun. I'll talk more about the relationships in the show as a whole, but I also just like Momiji because she's cute. The fact she competes and gets jealous whenever someone gets close with Mahiro, her overall shyness, and even her self-consciousness over her appearance. She's a really likable character as a whole. She also goes through a Chunibyu phase, which makes her even better. I want to talk more about the relationships between the older sisters and the little sisters generally for a second. I'll get to the side characters, chill. If you notice, the little sisters relate more to the others' older sisters than their own. For example, Mahiro is slowly becoming more like Kaide. She focuses on makeup and just looking cute. But Momiji, you could argue, is a lot more similar to Mihari. Not saying Mihari is boyish, but in terms of not really putting on makeup and dressing up. Hell, Mihari wears a lab coat everywhere. It's a pretty interesting dynamic that is consistently funny due to how different they are as a group. The comedy is added on with the side characters. Asahi's playful attitude with Mahiro makes Momiji jealous, thus leading to both pampering her as Mio watches, probably thinking up Yuri dojins in her head. I also really liked Asahi's nicknames for all the characters, especially Momijiro. Having a traditional samurai boy name for her is just, as far as Kaede goes, I don't have a lot to say about her. Her relationship with Mahiro is all kinds of cute, almost acting like her big sister in a way, and she's a great contrast to Mihari, basically serving as the girly character Mahiro is slowly turning into. One thing this show does a good job of is displaying the other members of the class in a memorable way. Like Nemu, who always sleeps. They had a funny gag where her fortune said she'd get bad luck if she slept too much, so she springs back up all of a sudden. There are the boys who slowly fall for Mahiro because she likes video games and is cute. It shows pretty well how boys most of the time don't mean much harm to girls. They just don't know how to act around them. And I think Mahiro sees that, hence why he doesn't hate them. The cast here is really just entertaining as a whole. They all have cute moments, and their contrasting personality types lead to some hilarious scenes. It's just really good all around, and hopefully they keep exploring and fleshing out these characters more. Studio Bind is a really good studio. The fluidity in character movement is so smooth here. Sometimes they just stick the camera in an area and have the characters move, and it just looks really nice. There's a lot of small movements that just make the characters feel more alive. Honestly, the production is what I think really put this show over the edge. They did a great job bringing the best out of this source material with the amount of clean cuts here. Particularly the last episode had really high quality scenes. Judging by KU's Twitter account, which is a pretty good Twitter account if you want to see the behind the scenes of anime production, it's also entirely English, so that helps. But it seems they also had fun making it, and you can tell. Similar to how you can feel the love in Mushoku Tensei by all the little movements and the details, you can see a little bit of that in OniMai as well. The cutaway gags, scenes like for that movie trailer in the Magical Girl anime were actually really incredible and showcases their ability to change styles on a dime. A lot of the reference material was really well done as well. But one small thing that really impressed me was when they cut to this flock of birds. I want to say 90% of the time, it mirrors what the scene just was. For example, when Mahiro is talking to the boys, it shows one bird forcing itself in a conversation, and when the two boys leave her, the birds fly away. It's a small thing that ultimately means nothing in the grand scheme of things, but I really liked that. The art is good too. It has a very colorful, kind of pastel look to it, and it fits the goofy comedy. A little detail is the various shapes around the outside of pretty much every landscape. Shouts out to the artists and animators for that one. It's a small detail, but it fits the series well and makes it stick out a little more to me. Ryo Itamura did a good job making the characters stick out as well. He did key animation for Shaft before this, and he did animate some scenes for this as well, but he mostly did the designs, and they look good. I love the look of the designs themselves. They look polished and detailed. The best thing here is the different styles they used for Mahiro's hair. It's really cute to see him try multiple hairstyles, and it happens so often in the series that it barely brings it up after a while. It just feels like a normal part of his daily routine. Even the designs for non-important characters are really solid. It's rare to see a lazy background character design, which just goes to show how much detail was put into this anime again. A lot of the backgrounds looked solid too. Overall, the art is just really good. The music in this series isn't bad. It's pretty much the typical cute girl kind of soundtrack. There is a notable one that they use a lot that uses a woodwind. The OP embodies the insanity the show can be at times. It really reflects the show well. Mahiro hiding and then popping out of the male gender sign is a highlight for me. It does paint the picture that this series is more fan service heavy than it actually is, which will either A, disappoint you, or B, will turn you away from the series. But I thought about it some more, and seeing a formal male stuck in commonly fetishized clothing and being awkward about it is actually pretty funny, so I'm fine with it now. Also, the transitions in the OP were smooth. The ending is really high quality, like really high quality. You see this movement right here? The songs themselves are alright. I would never understand how Japanese songwriters will create the catchiest melodies to ever exist. You can't even sing them because it's a different language, so it just makes it worse. It's just always stuck in your head. But it's pretty typical voice actors singing the OP and ending type music here. It's pretty cute, but that's the most I can say about it. Hey, speaking of voice acting, don't you love it when things naturally transition like that? Mahiro is voiced by Marika Kono. She's almost like a veteran in voicing cute small girls. It's not an easy role necessarily, but I actually thought her voice fit perfectly for the character. A lot of the time, her voice made a scene funnier to me. Same with a lot of the performances here, honestly. It's a really great cast. Kanayuki as Asahi was fun. I really liked Minami Suda as Momiji. Not a whole lot else to say here. It's just solid all around. This series isn't for everyone. Duh. I can say that for every show of this nature. But I do think it's a surprisingly wholesome slice of life that tells a story of someone getting a second chance at life. I think, like Bind's other works, a fair bit of people took scenes out of context to try and pin it as something it's not. To be quite honest, as someone who watches a lot of fan service, edgy anime, this does not have nearly enough to deserve to be labeled as trashy or degenerate. At least in my opinion. But what this show does have are scenes of someone appreciating a life they never knew existed, really. A life they never knew they wanted to feel before. How it feels to have friends and find purpose in going to school every day. In that way, this series is almost beautiful. But it's also able to balance the awkwardness of growing up and sexual curiosity and is able to blend that with comedy. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Kikaya, and that was OniMai. And goodbye! Cunny love is cunny life. One day I hope for a cunny wife. As I arise in the morning, I gaze upon my cunny wife yawning, with eyes like dazzling gems, and gems 10 out of 10. All I know, all is well in life when I have myself a cunny wife.
Connie.